We were created in her image. We are fruits from the mother tree. It's our birthright to rule over the lessers of our land. Answer me this, my friends. Are we not the most perfect creature created?
Hello, and welcome to the first feature-length lore episode of the Empire of Pareena. I'll be your host, Heatwave. Before we can start, let me share a bit of wisdom from my dear father. In due time, the universe will answer all of your questions. And thus, we begin. In the beginning, there were 3 sisters. The first, Pareena, was the oldest and wisest. She gave birth to the first dragons upon her lands. She nurtured them, watched them develop a society. She had big ambitions too. She wished to ascend her creations to new heights, to cities of gleaming gold and marble. With her power over the fabric of life itself, Pareena created her first sister, Pantalia. Pantalia looked at the dragons roaming the surface of Pareena and was disgusted. She saw Pareena's perfect creations as wasteful, insustainable. They were a plague. Pantalia refused to shepherd such low creatures. Instead, she used her powerful biomancy to grow vast plantations across the surface of her continent. The third and final sister is Pariah. Young and rebellious, she at first admired her older sister, to the point where her biomes and geography mimicked that of the first sister. As a show of good faith, Pareena would gift Pariah with dragons. She hoped that Pariah would follow in her example and raise her creations with care. Of course, the third sister had other plans. Pariah reveled in the chaos she brought upon her land. She didn't care how these dragons governed themselves. It was entertaining to watch them rise and fall. At first, scavengers ruled the surface, but their own arrogance led to the scorching. Pariah, then, took one step too far in the eyes of Pareena. She gifted her dragons with forbidden magic, the power to read minds or see the future. This deeply upset Pareena, and a gap formed in their relationship. If the unlawfulness couldn't go any further, a large settlement of dragons began a great pilgrimage from Pariah to Pantalia. Angered by this, Pantalia prepared a welcome to her sister's vermin. She used the full might of her being to make the very environment itself lash out. As soon as the first talons set on her sands, she attacked. Packs of mindless lions roamed the dunes. Armies and armies of flesh-eating ants marched from their nests. The sky was blackened by droning wings from swarms of hornets descending upon the intruders. Her goal was to drive back these dragons. But day by day, more and more remained. Over time, Pantalia started to adore them. Adore their tenacity, their resilience to her attacks. At some point, she stopped. She let these dragons in, slowly but surely across her surface. When Pariah learnt of this betrayal, she became enraged. She loathed her sisters. She cursed their names. Pariah summoned forth a massive storm. She wanted to wash everything off the face of Pantalia and drown her sister into the sea. But her own hubris would get the better of her. A young Nightwing named Clearsight, gifted with the power to witness the future, raced across the ocean to warn those who call Pantalia home. Thanks to her, thousands of lives would be spared from Pariah's wrath. In the aftermath, the sisters began to drift apart, going their own separate way. Eventually, their life forces would fade. Their beings would be transformed to nothing but sand on the wind. Their creation still remained. waging wars, forming kingdoms, growing stronger by each passing of the 3 moons. Yet the sisters will forever remain in silence. Now we look at the various biomes, geography, inhabitants of the first continent, and how they all have impacted the empire that bears the same name. Pareena, a beautiful land of scorching deserts, ice-covered peaks, and colorful reefs. Its diverse biosphere is home to countless fauna and flora, but not as majestic as the scaled tyrants that have carved a home in every corner of the continent. Starting in order, we will delve deeper into the geography of the continent, starting at its head and working our way down the length of the spine. To be clear, the expanse of the continent covers 7.741 million kilometers square. The seasons. The environment is dictated by 4 distinct seasons that forever change the nature of Pareena. They play a pivotal role in living on the continent. In the summer, hot winds from the desert region blow down into the valley. The marshlands begin to boil, and the tail islands slowly warm to tropical waters. While it isn't overtly hot during summer, an unprepared dragon can find a lot to complain about. In autumn, Pareena experiences a flat temperature across its surface. It's neither cold or hot. The only real sign that autumn is here is the trees that molt in the lower valleys. Winter affects all the regions and biomes of Pareena differently. Cold air in the lower atmosphere gives way to heavy snow that reaches down to the lower valley. In the desert and marshlands, the nights are cold. Because ice wings are the only winglet that likes being frost-covered and cold, winter isn't a popular season. The cycle rounds out with spring. The temperature is perfect and warm for growing crops, and it's a time where animals, including dragons, are most likely to birth their offspring. Pareena can be divided into 6 unique regions. Occupying the head of Pareena is the marshlands, split into 2 by the Moor River. The marshlands are a hot mesh of boggy, muddy plains and mangroves that nest themselves along the banks of the river. There are a few natural resources in this region. The few dragons who live in the marshes farm catfish and crocodile meat. It is here where the mudwings were first born. Most of the population has migrated along to the rainforest, but there are a few holdouts. Catfish, mud crabs, and crawfish that live among the mangroves, while crocodiles prefer to nest on the flat plains close to the water edge. Good quality crocodile skin is a booming trade. While no match for a dragon, a carefree dragonette may be an easy feast for these reptiles. Running along the back is what is called Pareena's spine. This long strip of jagged mountains and rocky plateaus divide the continent in 2. Over time, paths and trails have been created to allow for greater travel through the mountains. In its center, overlooking all of Pareena, is Claw Mountain, jetting up at 600 meters above sea level. The tops is capped with snow and icy frozen glaciers. The Ice Wings made their home digging out catacombs in the ice. After the War of Unification, Claw Mountain was hollowed out to fit the new Silver Pavilion. While it looks small, inside runs a hive-like city of nearly 400. Across a small valley in the mountain range lies the old Skywing Kingdom. A large pod tethered to the mountain once held the majority of the Skywing population. After the War of Unification, the Skywings abandoned the structure, finding new homes across the Empire. Not many animals live up in the mountains. Between the polar bears, snow leopards, arctic foxes, and mountain goats, the hunt is sparse. Ice Wings living on the lower peaks have made a steady living off the animal skin trade. The lower abdomen of Pareena are rolling hills and grassland. It is here that the Empire established the vast farms and agricultural bases. It's also the site of the first city and the expansive Imperial Palace. This city was first built by the construction crew of the palace. Bit by bit, over time, the cobblestones grew into an expansive city. It's the center of dragon culture, being home to universities, factories, and the arts. At the heart of this city is the Imperial Palace, its walls reaching kilometers into the sky, each bristling with artillery emplacements. Inside sits the Imperial government, protected by an army of custodian guard. But that will be for a more in-depth lore reading. Rounding out the end is the scattered landmasses of the Tail Islands. These tropical islands are largely uninhabited. Their vast sandy beaches give home to forests of palm trees and mountains of coconuts. Their warm waters draw many dragons in during the winter season. But hidden underneath is the ancestral home of the Sea Wings, the Coral City. Made of hollowed-out rocks and massive coral formations, this city is entirely inhabited by sea wings. Their primary product is the vast amount of exotic fish they farm. Shark and whale meat is abundant, turtles are prized for their shells, and squid ink is extracted to be used for writings. The right talon of Pareena isn't really anything to note. Flat grass plains? It's said to have no inhabitants. Pareena's hind leg is home to the wet spring rainforest. As the name implies, during spring the rainforest is saturated with heavy downpour, turning the ground into soup. The Pareena rainwings adopted sprawling tree houses as their homes, from simple platforms with large tarps to full buildings mounted to the trees. While the rainforest is filled with exotic animals, the primary export is its variety of fruit products, thus making the region the wealthiest of the empire, exporting the fullest, juiciest fruits to all of Pareena. The leftmost talon of the continent is the desert region of the Mojave. The Mojave dips down from the mountains, where the shrubby rocklands leads to a vast open desert. The few oases that dot its surface provide much-needed hydration to the small settlements. The capital of the Mojave, Shady Sands, is the oldest structure in Imperial history, being the original Sandwing Castle. Made of limestone and clay, this walled city was once the center of trade, well before the Empire's founding. Its biggest oddity is the massive Black Pearl obelisk. Once the palace of the Sandwing Tyrant, its origins are a mystery. The primary product of the Mojave Desert is its mineral and metal deposits that are mined and shipped by rail to the first city. But some dragons have been able to carve out a life as cactus farmers, camel herders, or living in the small coastal towns. But the breadth of the Mojave is still a barren wasteland. Reaching up Pareena's wing is the Losime Gap. This natural buffer zone is devoid of life. Only the foolish would cross it unprepared, and the journey, it can take months. At the top of the wing lies another. An empire forged by steel and an iron fist. They are not dragons, and I will leave them for a more detailed lore recording. Eventually, though, they would lead a war upon red sands. Hi. So a little bit of an unscripted outro here. I would just like to thank everyone for taking the time out to actually watch this. Wings of Fire is quite a niche topic, I believe. I mean, it's got a very big community, but it's a very niche topic. And being able to create a spin-off fanfiction lore series is a bit ambitious, I will have to admit. It's quite ambitious because, well, not a lot of people are going to be interested in it, and not a lot of people are going to be interested in long-winded lore videos. because I'm not really creating a story, more of world building, creating a universe that hopefully inspires other people to then create stories for it. But I'd just like to say thank you for taking the time to watch this. This was the first episode, and I've got many more planned after this one. Maybe not as long. We got to get through a couple bookkeeping things first, like how does time and dates work? What are the inhabitants? Which hopefully should be a very, very big video. I hope you enjoyed the custom art. It's not perfect. It's not Mona Lisa perfect, but it conveys the message a lot. Before you go, please consider leaving a like and leaving a comment. It helps the algorithm and allows these videos to reach a much wider and diverse audience. I am also looking for feedback. I'm an amateur at this. I'm recording all of this off my phone with very limited editing skills. In fact, half of the video that I made previously to this is essentially just a giant animation. All the transitions were actually animated. They're not done smoothly on a computer. I had to animate them frame by frame because I don't have the skills of the technology to actually produce smooth transitions. So any feedback about how I'm recording, script, is greatly appreciated. Like, do you like the little quotes at the front of each of the videos to add a bit more flavor to the world, or is it just annoying? I really would like a professional animator to animate the intro. That would be perfect, but again, we're too small to be dreaming that big. So, to finish off this little bit of a ramble, apologies, thank you again for watching.